Well, the big takeaway last week was the cabinet clearing the constitution amendment bill for GST, or goods and services tax, and this will be a huge positive for the industry when it comes through. It will help the corporate sector in various savings, whether it's savings in supply chain, savings in tax rates, lowering manufacturing costs. So let's find out from one such company. Vineet Agarwal, the Managing Director of Transport Corporation of India, joins us now to talk about that. Vineet, hi, good morning, and thank you for taking the time out this morning. If you can just explain the specifics to us with respect to your own company, what is the current tax rate that you guys pay, and if the adjusted tax rate for GST is at about 24-25%, then how much of a benefit would companies like yours get?
Hi, good morning. For us, the direct impact of such taxation is not there. We are a services company, so not a manufacturing company. So we just pay service tax and income tax. But the impact that you just mentioned is actually on manufactured products. So what will happen is, essentially, GST being a consumption tax, it would mean that today, let's assume that there is a company which has 5 production units and maybe 25 warehouses across India. Because of saving the central sales tax. What will happen is that they will start reducing these number of warehouses. So instead of 25 warehouses, they might have 15 warehouses. So the distribution matrix will change from 5 factories to 15 warehouses, which would essentially mean that the size of these warehouses will increase, essentially reducing the overall inventory, but concentrating that inventory at several locations. So there are lots of changes that will come from a supply chain perspective for manufactured products, clearly with GST coming in.
Okay. So the saving is in terms of the number of warehouses you have. Does it impact the amount of goods you will move?
So the volume of movement will be the same, because the production is the same, the sales are the same. It's just the volume is concentrated to certain locations. Okay. What would happen is that from that location, those locations will become hubs. So you will move to a hub and spoke system. Also, the other thing that will happen is that you will possibly use multimodal transportation and not just predominantly road transport as we do today. We'll probably use rail cargo or even coastal shipping, or as the government has been talking a lot about, inland waterways. So various modes of transport would start coming into play more and more, with the concentration of transportation going to lesser number of locations.
Okay. Well, another puzzle for those of us who don't understand how these taxes are calculated, Vineet, is petroleum products. These are going to continue to remain a state subject. It is in the bill, but it will be at 0 rate from the center, and it will be taxed by the states. How do you give input credit? It doesn't come to you at all. Don't you have to provide input credit to anybody or claim input credit from anyone? If you were to do that, how would you do it?
No, I think, that is quite specifically clear, because, for us, we are going to buy wherever a truck goes and it needs fuel. We are going to buy fuel from that particular state. And we are going to pay the state taxes at that point, because as you said, that fuel is out of the purview, but states are allowed to tax that. So I, as a company, when we buy fuel, I'll have to buy it from that specific state and pay the local taxes. So I think in that sense it becomes a relatively simpler, not so complicated.
Okay, and you don't have to give credit to anybody or claim credit because it's an end product, is it?
No, not exactly, yes.
So,
that's right.
So just to clarify, on a cost basis for a company like yours, there won't be any dramatic change or any dramatic lowering of costs, right?
So our major cost structure is essentially fuel, trucks, or lubricants, tires. So some of these items where we are going to buy these products, there would be certain price reductions, hopefully with a lower inventory cost or lower cost of distribution. However, the net cost should not change much.
What is your service tax, Vineet? And if under the GST at some point in time it is going to be brought on par with excise service tax, then yours would get higher?
Yes, generally speaking, sir, it is assumed that, it's GST, which is Goods and Services Tax. So at some point it has to come through. So, yes, we would, whenever we get taxed higher, it actually gets passed on to consumers. So, I do not see that as a major issue for a company like us. But today the major issue is that road is at a separate tax structure, rail is at a separate tax structure, coastal shipping is at a separate tax structure. So, just think about a company like ours that is actually moving cargo by rail from, let's say, North India to a port in Gujarat, putting it onto a ship, taking it to Kerala, putting it onto a truck and delivering it to a consumer. So we're using 3 modes of transport, but we are taxed 3 different ways. So that's the complexity that exists in business today. That is what needs to be done to sort of make the doing business in India easier.
Okay. Just one word on your supply chain business itself and what the prognosis is for say the second half of the year or the new calendar year. It contributes about 30% to your overall business. What do you see as the way forward now? Have things improved?
Yes, the business has been growing quite successfully at 20+% in this year, and I think this growth will continue. What I just talked about being the warehouses getting consolidated, large warehouse demand would come up, and we as a company manage almost 10 million square feet of warehouse space. So divisions like supply chain would really get benefit. We have the ability to sell large spaces and manage large spaces. In fact, a lot of clients today are coming to us with a post-GST strategy. So we are coming and we are doing a whole network design study for them and pointing out where are their locations where they should have the warehouses. So division like supply chain would tremendously benefit from GST. We are also seeing a revival in the auto sector to some extent. And since that we get 75% of our business from the auto sector in that division, we should see some growth there as well.
Okay, finally tell us if there is growth. I mean, your revenue, when we last heard, freights division was up just about 6% and the XPS division 12%. So are things improving at the ground level? Would you say second half, compared to previous years, second half will be much better?
Lata, every year the second half is always better.
No, that's why I'm not asking you whether... No, I'm not asking you if it's better than the first half. I'm asking you if the year-on-year growth will be better.
Yeah. Definitely it will be better. What has happened is that December is a year-end closing for a lot of MNCs. So there's a lot of push towards sales. Again, March is the year-end closing for Indian companies.
No, you're not getting my point at all. No, Vineet, I'm not asking you that. I'm not asking you the regular seasonal factors. I'm asking you if the economy is picking up. Are you getting more business compared to the same time last year and the year before?
We are getting a lot more business than last year, for sure. That's what I was coming to. I was saying that the inventory pickup has started to happen, but it's not that much. It is more seasonal towards the quarter endings. It's not predominantly seen across all sectors. It's only there in a few consumer-driven sectors, not in the engineering sectors, not in the capital goods sectors.
Currently, a very small portion of your business comes from e-commerce, but that's the big story, over the last 6 months. How much do you envision in terms of the e-commerce business, say, over the next 2 to 3 years?
For us, e-commerce is a bigger picture. For us, e-commerce is not just that last mile delivery. We do a lot of the warehousing for a lot of e-commerce companies, which is essentially the fulfillment. We do supplier management for the e-commerce companies. So for us, that entire chain from suppliers to warehouse management, fulfillment to final delivery is what we take care of. And I think right now, being a 2,500 crore company, the sales is relatively smaller. But going forward, it would be a big portion of our business as well.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us with those clarifications.